You have to admit, we all love a good police chase. However, it can be easy to forget that a real-world police chase could easily cost someone their lives. Today, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 must-see police chases. But before we get started, be sure to hit that like button and ring the notification bell for more great videos. We're all aware that Corvettes are seriously fast. In this video, we see a Corvette that has continually outrun many police cars, with officers scrambling to capture the man before he crashes and hurts innocent people. Many police vehicles are seen chasing after him in the footage, but the man keeps his foot to the floor, with the television announcer claiming that he's driving at least 165 miles an hour. The vehicle had been reported stolen, presumably from a dealership lot. He approaches a series of 18-wheeler trucks and cuts off the side of the road to pass them, then swerves back onto the road. However, he immediately loses control and the car fishtails. The side of the Corvette smashes into one of the 18-wheelers, shattering the fiberglass car into thousands of pieces. A crash like this would typically claim the life of the driver, but this man was ejected from the car and thrown onto the ground in the distance. Officers were called after a woman was seen driving irresponsibly on the highway. Police attempt to pull the woman over, but she refuses to slow down for the officers, causing an incredibly dangerous high-speed chase for the officers. As the officer in pursuit pulls up beside the woman, he realizes something strange. She's completely naked. It doesn't take long for the officer to realize that he has a very serious situation on his hands, so he calls in for backup. Almost immediately, an off-duty officer in his personal pickup truck responds to the call and offers help. The man does his best to block the woman and help the officer pull her over, but she simply isn't having it. As they continue down the highway, a helpful civilian tries to help the officers by pinning the woman against the side of the road so that she cannot escape. However, she swerves and crashes into the civilian vehicle, forcing him out of the way. A few moments later, the cops are hot on her tail as she tries to drive through a private neighborhood. The officers finally block her in and arrest her. The limo in this video is estimated to be about 20 feet long, but that doesn't stop the driver from fleeing from officers, resulting in a 150-mile-per-hour chase along a highway in New York. As the police close in on the man on the highway, he puts the pedal to the metal and tries to run. He flies down the highway, taking an off-ramp onto a city street and trying to lose track of the cops. When they locate him, he pulls back onto the highway to resume the high-speed chase. However, it seems like the weight and size of the limo catches up with the man, as his transmission blows out, sending clouds of smoke and pools of oil all over the highway. The driver finally gives in and pulls over, but not for long. As the officers close in on him, he decides to shift the car into the only gear that still functions, reverse. Police continue to follow him this way for several miles before he turns into a neighborhood and loses control. He crashed into a bundle of trees, ending the chase once and for all. When questioned about the case, the man said that he ran from officers because he had a suspended license. The BMW M3 is one of the most beloved vehicles of all time, so a police chase involving one of these super fast vehicles is bound to be interesting. The chase alone would have likely been entertaining, but when you bundle that with the fact that a 15-year-old was driving the car, things can get pretty scary. M3 E30 BMWs are seriously fast, but it seems like the production crew for this clip may be overstating the vehicle's speed a bit. The stats that appear on screen don't seem to be accurate and most likely belong to a later model E36 M3. The footage is also a bit strange because it seems as though police didn't capture footage of the man's arrest or the end of the chase. Instead, they pieced together slowed down footage, claiming that this was a live video of the man stopping after his car broke down. To be honest, we don't know if this man was truly ever captured. There's no footage of his arrest available. Still, this was a remarkable police chase. A man in a semi-truck fled from officers after he was seen driving poorly on a highway. However, the man refused to pull over for officers and continued to drive through traffic at incredibly high speeds. They tried to slow the truck down with spike strips, but this didn't do much. The truck eventually came to a section of the road that had been closed for construction. At least one officer exited his vehicle and began to approach the side of the truck. But the man wasn't about to go down so easily. He put the truck in gear and began to push his way through all of the cars in front of him, turning his truck into a giant bulldozer. Officers continued to chase him, eventually slowing the truck down by blowing out all of the tires. We don't understand how, but the man was still on the move. Their only hope was to shoot at the truck's engine and hope that that would shut it off. And thankfully, that worked. The man was then pulled from the truck and taken to jail, where he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. A man from Georgia was involved in a high-speed chase after officers responded to a call for a burglary. The suspect fled in his vehicle, leading police on a 75-mile pursuit that caused damage to multiple vehicles. The man fired at officers several times and caused one officer to crash. Thankfully, no one seems to have been injured in the chase. The man was arrested and charged with several crimes. He's a wanted man in at least 4 counties and will face separate charges in each county. It doesn't seem like any innocent lives were affected, aside from the officers who were fired at. This chase could have ended terribly, but officers were thankfully able to take care of the situation without causing too much harm. A man from Mississippi fled from officers after he was found to have harmed 2 innocent people. Rather than face the consequences of his actions, the man led police on a high-speed chase that began in Mississippi and ended in Alabama. The man led officers for many hours, traveling down the I-10 in hopes of losing the officers somewhere along the highway. The man who was harmed by the suspect was taken to the hospital and is currently in critical condition. The driver now faces several serious charges and will likely be sentenced to prison for many years. This chase became incredibly violent very quickly. Police were in hot pursuit of a Ford Taurus that had been running away from officers. One policeman manages to ram the car, spinning it around backward on the highway. However, the man exits the car and decides to duck behind the truck and begins firing towards officers. Backup arrives after a few moments, with the new officer firing back toward the suspect. In fear, he jumps back into his car and continues down the highway. The man's headed for the state line, and thankfully an Idaho officer was on the scene to lay down a spike trap for the suspect, blowing out all of his tires. The man's car spins out of control onto the highway, sending him sideways. The suspect is wounded in the crash, and one of the officers suffers from a broken leg. The officer with the broken leg was pulled to safety, while other officers arrested the man. In the end, he was given the largest sentence ever in the state of Montana, 11 life sentences. Sadly, only a small portion of this chase was captured on video, but there are several photos available that show the insane amount of damage that was caused by this police chase. This is another case that just recently took place, so details of the chase are still unfolding. A man from Texas was reportedly fleeing from officers, though they haven't explained why the man was on the run. Home security video captured the car speeding down a private road with officers close behind it. The car drives out of the frame of the video, where it then crashes into a family's home, causing a 4-car pileup in their driveway. Each of the vehicles was seriously damaged, causing tens of thousands of dollars in repairs. The home was also damaged, though we don't know if the damage will cause the home to be unstable in the future. The man was arrested, but we don't know what type of penalty he'll be facing when he's sentenced to prison. A man driving a stolen Ford Mustang was fleeing from officers for over 35 minutes, flying down the highway at speeds more than 100 miles per hour. One of the officers attempted to spin out the vehicle, hoping it would end the chase. However, the man regains control of the Mustang immediately and continues to drive down the highway. Thankfully, another officer is right behind them and attempts to spin the man out once again. However, just like before, he can gain control of the car and continues to place innocent people's lives in danger. Before long, another officer takes one more shot at spinning out the driver, this time sending him crashing into a wall. The driver throws the car into reverse and then drives off of the highway onto a nearby road. He makes it a short distance down the road before crashing into a street sign, bringing this chase to an end. Thankfully, no one other than the driver appears to have been hurt during the